let's get to some news here.
Several Republican members of Congress were ambushed early this morning.
Shots being fired, and there are people running, possibly victims involved.
5 people were shot, including the House Majority Whip.
We were sitting ducks.
Well, James T. Hodgkinson, he was shot and killed by officers. The 66-year-old from Illinois, not shy about being vocal and expressing his strong political views on social media.
He strongly disliked Republican policies and opposed President Trump. Family members describe him as distraught after the election.
I think we would all do well, politicians included, to tone down the rhetoric.
It was a moment when polarized members of Congress came together after a horrifying attack on Republicans practicing for a baseball game. But will that moment last? Our panel debates how Arizona's delegation reacted to last week's shootings. Senator Jeff Flake nearly lost his life on that field. And whether anything changed after Gabby Gifford's near-fatal shooting 6 years ago. But first, we'll have a Democratic primary for governor next year. State Senator Steve Farley of Tucson has jumped into the race.
But sometimes a little tough for a Democrat to get a bill through this Republican legislature.
And Steve Farley joining us this morning, hoping to sign bills from the legislature as governor. Welcome back to Square Off.
Thanks for having me, Bram.
So we do have a primary. You joined 2014 candidate for school superintendent David Garcia and Republican turned Democrat Noah Dyer in the 2018 primary. It'll be the first Democratic primary in 16 years. The winner takes on incumbent Governor Doug Ducey. So your big idea: taking $13 billion in sales tax loopholes, pulling about $2 billion out of that and handing it over to schools, roads, healthcare. How tough will it be to get that $2 billion out?
I think it hasn't been easy for this governor and this legislature to stand up against corporate special interests. But I think with the surge of voters wanting to stand up for a governor who actually governs for the people and not a few special interests, we can get this thing done. If you actually, there's $13.7 billion in sales tax loopholes in the code. If you take and find $2 billion of those and get rid of them, they do nothing for our economy. You could lower the sales tax rate by a full % while increasing education spending by $1 billion a year to put into our schools, which have been starved of funding for years and years and years.
You tried this past session to get something through to at least study this. That didn't go anywhere, although there was some bipartisan support. So again, $2 billion, will it just materialize or will it be a slog to get that money?
Well, there are things like you pay sales tax on 3-inch pipes, you don't pay sales tax on 4-inch pipes. For most people, that doesn't make any sense unless you're a large out-of-state corporation that uses a lot of 4-inch pipes and you can afford a high-priced lobbyist to get a break in place. But there's enough bipartisan support. My bill actually would have forced review of all 331 of these loopholes at least once every 10 years. And then if they couldn't prove their worth to the people of Arizona, we'd get rid of them. And I have the strong support of people as far to the right as David Farnsworth and Warren Peterson. So I think folks on all sides of the political spectrum are sick and tired of the kind of corporate special interest driven politics that Governor Ducey represents.
You're a Tucson legislator. Most people up here in Maricopa County don't know you. You'd have to do pretty well in Maricopa County to win. What do they need to know about you?
Well, I would take issue with that because I've been serving for 11 years and my experience in the legislature is going to enable me to be able to do the job on day one. You can't just be learning on the job when you're governor. People know me because I've been in the media up here. I have something called the Farley Report I write every Tuesday that gets around to 26,000 people around the state. But most importantly, I'm a dad. I've been a small business owner for 26 years and a dad for 22. I've seen what's happened. My youngest daughter just graduated from Tucson High, number 18 in the class of 755.
Congratulations.
I've seen, thank you very much, and I've seen the carnage that has happened at our public schools based on the cuts from Governor Ducey and this legislature for years. And it's time to roll that back. I think that's something that people across the partisan divide agree with. Strong public schools is a strong foundation for a lifetime of learning and an economy that works in this century. Your opponent, David Garcia, wants to work toward making Arizona universities tuition free. He'd start with community colleges. Do you support that? I think college tuition is too high. I think our universities have been damaged. Should it be free? But you got to start putting your resources in K-12. Because if you don't produce kids that are college ready, it doesn't matter how cheap college is. We need to focus on our foundations of learning. And with the scarce resources around, as long as we stop giving away our taxpayer money to corporate special interests the way Governor Ducey has, we can invest that money without raising taxes on our schools.
What's the best thing Governor Doug Ducey has done? The best thing? What is the worst thing he's done?
Oh, man. The best thing he did is signed one of my bills this year. I was really happy that he decided to put partisanship aside and do that. The worst thing he's done is, he campaigned saying that he had strong managerial experience as a private sector business person. 5 of his department directors have resigned or have been chased by a cloud of suspicion under investigation for things they've done wrong. That's not the way you govern a state.
You mentioned the Farley report a few minutes ago. So in prepping for the interview, I went back to look at the Farley report because I've read it over the years. I can't find it. It's gone.
It's coming back today, actually.
You sure?
No, I'm sure. People will be able to see it.
You're not messing around with it.
No, I'm not. We had to switch over from my Senate website to the gubernatorial website, and some stuff got lost, but we're putting it back because I have 278 Farley reports that have been written over the last 11 years. They're all available. I'm an open book. People will be able to look them up by the time this airs.
All right, Senator Steve Farley, thanks very much for joining us. Best of luck to you.
Thank you, and look them up at farleyforarizona.com. That's where they'll be.
All right, thanks again.
Thank you.
When we come back, the president lets the dreamers stay, breaking a campaign promise. Plus, the horrifying attack on Republican members of Congress brings a call to dial down their rhetoric in our polarized politics. But will anybody listen? Then, why would John McCain's wife, Cindy McCain, take a job with President Trump? Why would Trump hire Cindy McCain? We'll try to answer. Stay with us.